Yes, we'll begin with our class. I'll continue from here itself. Okay, so what you have seen in the last class, you have learned about the vapor pressure, correct? No, I believe you know what is vapor pressure now. So recall all the points. Now I'll directly go for this topic. Okay, so vapor pressure of liquid in liquids we were discussing, where you have two volatile liquids. We have taken two volatile liquid, means the solute and the solvent both we are considering as a liquid, okay, to prepare a solution. And what kind of a liquid you are taking? A volatile liquid. Volatile means the substance which will evaporate very easily. Okay, easily they go into the gaseous phase. So then that kind of a substance, they are called as volatile substance. Okay, easily which can evaporate. So both of the liquid which we are taking are volatile in nature, and then we are going to mix it together. Okay, and you are going to calculate what happens to the vapor pressure in this case. So first I have considered here one particular kind of a liquid. Okay, you can see here the blue one, it's one kind of a liquid. So you know, when you have a closed container, this particular liquid initially will go into this empty space and then they get converted to a gas. Once this empty space becomes saturated, you know that these gas molecules will start colliding with one another. Okay, and they lose their kinetic energy. When they lose their kinetic energy, they get converted in the form of a liquid again. Okay, and then an equilibrium will be established, correct? No, so whatever molecule has gone into the gaseous phase, so same amount of molecules will go into the liquid phase also. An equilibrium get established. At that time, I told you whatever pressure this gas over here will exert on this particular liquid, that pressure is called as vapor pressure. Okay, so vapor pressure concept comes only when the system is at equilibrium. Okay, when an equilibrium is established, only then you can calculate the vapor pressure. And vapor pressure for a particular solvent is always a constant. Okay, means once they have attained an equilibrium, okay, then the amount of pressure they are going to exert, that will remain same. Okay, so throughout, at one particular temperature, let me clear that also, at one particular temperature, okay, the vapor pressure of a particular liquid is going to remain constant. Okay, so now here you can see there is only one kind of a liquid. So whatever pressure, okay, if I number this as first liquid, okay, then whatever pressure they are going to exert, that will be solely because of these particular liquid itself. No, whatever has gone over here, they are only of one kind. Only the blue molecules will be there here. Okay, so only they can exert a pressure. So that pressure we write as P1 naught. Okay, so remember, naught indicates only for pure liquid. If you are talking only about a pure liquid, then we use naught. Okay, so here only blue one is there, only they are exerting pressure. So we have represented this as P1 naught. And in the second case, you see, we have taken another liquid, this red ones you can see here. So here again, same thing happens. Once they have attained the equilibrium, then they will exert a pressure. So that pressure, we call it as the vapor pressure of the second solvent. Okay. So here again, we have only the red molecules which have gone into the vapor phase and they are exerting the pressure. So this pressure can be taken as P2 naught. Okay, it is of the second gas, second one which is exerting a pressure, and only one kind of a liquid is there. So again, naught is used here. Okay. Now when you mix this two, you know, when you are mixing this two liquid, you are forming a solution here. Okay, so we have a solution. Now when you have a solution, both of these gases, because both of them are volatile, both will go into the empty space and they will exert a pressure. Okay, so now you can see here on the surface, you can see blue molecules are there and then red ones are there. Again you have blue and again you have red. Okay, so it's not like you have only 100% blue who will go into the vapor phase. You have partial amount of blue ones and you have partial amount of red ones. So both will be exerting a pressure. Okay, so we can't say the total pressure is going to be the P1 naught or it is going to be P2 naught, because we don't have only one kind of molecule. Now there are both the molecules, so both will be exerting a pressure. So total pressure, if you are calculating, that will be P1 plus P2. Okay, partial pressure exerted by the blue molecules and partial pressure exerted by the red ones. Okay, so little bit pressure is because of the blue molecules and little bit is because of the red ones. Total pressure will be because of P1 plus P2. Okay, that's the total pressure exerted. But now P1 is exerting how much pressure? That is what we are calculating. Okay, that's what is the Raoult's law is. Okay, P1 is exerting how much pressure. One liquid is exerting how much pressure. Okay, vapor pressure. And the another liquid is exerting how much vapor pressure. So now if you are calculating what is the pressure exerted by one particular liquid, I had told you that depends on the number of moles. Okay. So if you have 1 mole of one component and 2 moles of another component, you can see here 2 moles is larger. Okay. So if you have large number of moles of one particular liquid, their vapor pressure will be higher. No, they will go in a large number into the vapor phase and they will exert more pressure. Okay, so it depends on the number of moles. If you have one kind of a liquid where the number of moles is higher, their mole fraction also will be higher. Okay, because numbers are larger. So when you are calculating out of 1, you will see their fraction will come out to be larger. They will be in large number in the vapor phase and the vapor pressure automatically will be higher for that particular liquid. Okay, so I can say here when the number of moles are higher, okay, when you have more number of moles of one liquid, their mole fraction will be higher. When their mole fraction is higher, they will be going more into the vapor phase. Okay, such molecules will be there in large number in the vapor phase and they exert more pressure. Okay, so they will have more vapor pressure. I believe this much is clear to everyone. Okay, so we can say now here pressure exerted by one particular liquid, if I have to calculate for P1, that is directly proportional to the number of moles, correct? No, that is a mole fraction. So I can write for first component directly proportional to x1 if I have to write for first component. Similarly, if I have to calculate how much is the pressure exerted by the second component, so that is P2, this P2 pressure will be again directly proportional to the mole fraction, that is x2. Okay, the second component's mole fraction. So they are directly related to each other. More is a mole fraction, more will be the, you can see they are directly related. So if mole fraction increases, vapor pressure automatically is going to increase. Okay, this relationship is what we call as Raoult's law. Okay, so this is Raoult's law. What you had learned last class, I told you. Okay, partial vapor pressure of each component means that one component what you are calculating in the solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction present in the solution. Okay, so I can write down now here according to Raoult's law for first component, okay, that is for solute, we can write P1 is directly proportional to x1. You can remove this proportionality sign by putting one constant. So here the constant, okay, which is being found out, that is this P1 naught. Okay, usually we write like this, no, P1 is equal to K into x1. Okay, so this K value is being calculated and it's a constant value. Okay, that constant value for the first component, okay, this first component, that depends on the vapor pressure of that component. Okay, like see, if I take only one particular liquid, then you will have only x1 value, correct? No, 100% will be only x1. And what will be x2 value there? Second component will not be present. x2 value will be 0. How this has been calculated, I'm telling you. So x1, only x1 component will be present, x2 component will not be present. Okay, so when they have measured, they have found that P1 value is coming as a constant. Okay, so we don't have this P1 every time when they have calculated, it is coming as a constant, and that constant is actually equal to the vapor pressure of that particular component, that is P1 naught. Okay, P1 naught. So that is answer what they have got. So you can directly remember this. The constant value is actually P1 naught. Okay, so where all of these terms you can explain. P1 naught is the vapor pressure of the pure component 1, x1 is a mole fraction, and P1 is the partial vapor pressure of that particular component. Okay, component 1. This is for first solute. Okay, similarly when they have calculated for solvent also, you'll get the same thing. Now see, what does this relationship tell you? You can see this relationship which tells you, like if I'm going to double the mole fraction of one component, then the vapor pressure of the component also will double. Okay, because they are directly related. So if you double the mole fraction, you will see that the vapor pressure also doubles. Okay, so that is the Raoult's law. So now for the second component also I have written here. See, you can see P2 is directly proportional to the mole fraction. You can remove this proportionality sign by putting a constant. So that will be P2 naught. Means when they divided this vapor pressure of the second component by the mole fraction of that component, they always got a constant answer. And that constant answer K is there, no, that is equal to the vapor pressure of that particular component, the pure vapor pressure of that component. And I told you vapor pressure of the pure component is always a constant. Okay, so here every time this K value will be equal to their pure component. Okay, vapor pressure of the pure component. So you can write down about this. P2 naught will be equal to this. Okay. P2 naught is vapor pressure of pure component. X2 is mole fraction. And P2 is the partial vapor pressure of that particular component. Yes, I'll go for the next one now. See. Now next we are calculating the total pressure. Okay. This I have told only about one component. No. See, if you have one component, initially this is when they are in the pure state. Okay, you have the pressure exerted by one component which comes out as P1 naught. And when you have the second solvent, the pressure exerted, okay, only by that one liquid will be P2 naught. Okay, when they are in their pure state. But when you mix them, you know, both of them exert a pressure. Okay, and we take that as P1. This we take as P1, and the second one we take as the second one which we have, we take as P2. Okay, this you are taking as P2. And the total pressure exerted, we write as P1 plus P2. Okay, now this total pressure we are writing in accordance to one rule which you have studied last year. You remember for the gases, you had one law which was stated by, you remember who stated that law? When you have two non-reactive gases present, okay, if you have taken one container where you have one gas and you have another container when there is another gas, okay, they will exert a pressure, and when you mix them together, the total pressure exerted will be sum of the pressure of the individual gases. Yes, very good, correct. So that was stated by Dalton, correct, no? So we call it as Dalton's law of partial pressure. So same thing we are applying for the liquid also. When you have individual liquid, they apply their own pressure, okay, when they are in their own container. But when they are mixed together, the total pressure exerted will be the sum of the partial pressure of the individual component. Okay, so that is given by Dalton. Now it is not Raoult's law. Raoult's law is just taking the idea of this Dalton, okay, whatever he has said. So now here we are believing that these liquid components which we have taken, no, they are also non-reactive to each other. So this Raoult's law basically is actually applicable only for ideal condition. If they are non-reactive, that means they should not react with one another. If they are not reacting with one another, that means that's an ideal condition, okay, which we can assume. So remember, even Raoult's law, which has been applicable, it's only applicable for ideal condition. If you deviate them from ideal condition, you will see that the behavior becomes a little different, okay, that you are going to learn later. Now just remember, what I am going to tell you is, like, when you have two components mixed together, the total pressure will be sum of the component of 1 and the 2. Okay, sum of the total component of all the component which are present over here. So that according to the Dalton's law. Okay, so I can write here P total is equal to P1 plus P2. Okay, and further I can substitute this. No, you have got the value of P1. No, P1 is what? P1 is P1 naught into x1, okay, according to Raoult's law, which we have got P1 naught into x1 plus P2 we have got as P2 naught into x2. Okay, further I can substitute this, students, like, see, if you want to calculate the total pressure, it's not necessary that you should know the moles of both the component. If you now know the mole fraction of one component, okay, like either the solute or the solvent, you can calculate the another one. Correct, no? You can calculate the another one. How is that calculation being done? Because you have a relationship for mole fraction, which says that the sum of the mole fraction of the component is equal to 1. Okay. So sum of the mole fraction of the component is equal to 1. So if I know the mole fraction of x1, I can calculate the x2. Or if I know x2, I can calculate the x1. Correct, no? So if you know any one, you can calculate the another one. Okay, so I can write now here x1 is equal to 1 minus x2. Okay, like if you know mole fraction of one component, you can calculate the another one. So that is what we are going to derive further and write. So this x1 I can substitute and write. Now here I can write this as P1 not x1 I can change and write in this way, okay, according to the mole fraction formula. Sum of the mole fraction is equal to 1. So I will change this x1 and write as 1 minus x2 plus P2 naught into x2. Okay, I can open the bracket now. We will open the bracket here. I can multiply this P1 naught into 1 and then this P1 naught with the x2. Okay, so what will be the terms I am going to get? I will get P1 naught minus P1 naught into x2 plus P2 naught into x2. Okay, so now here you can see what are the similar terms, common terms. You can club them together and write it. So now you can see here x2 is common, correct? No, see here I have x2 and x2 which I am getting as common. So then I can club that together and write this as, I can write it in this way, P1 naught. Okay, see now here I have minus x2 and this side I have plus x2. Okay, first I have minus x2. So I will take minus on the right hand side. Okay, and I will take the plus part first. I am writing it here so that you understand. So I am writing this first. Okay, this one I am writing first here. And then I have minus P1 naught into x2 because usually we write the plus term, positive term first. Okay, now I can take common no and write P1 naught plus what is common here? X2 is common, correct? This x2 and here x2 is common. I am taking it out, okay? And in the bracket, what is remaining? P2 naught minus P1 naught. See now, that's what I said. You can write this in terms of the second component also. I can write in terms of x2 or I can write even in terms of x1. So if you know any one component, you can calculate the total pressure because of this relationship. Okay, so you can write down now, right? The total pressure exerted according to Dalton's law is the sum of the partial pressure of the individual component. And you write down the further substitution you can see here. Yeah, see now here one question is, can we substitute in the place of x2? Yes, you can substitute in the place of x2. In that case, you will get as 1 minus x1. Correct, no? 1 minus x1 you will get. Then you will get in terms of x1. You will get in terms of mole fraction of first component. So whatever is available to you, based on that you can do the substitution, okay? And calculate the total pressure. So it can be done in either way. It depends on, usually this kind of substitution we are using when a problem is given to you. Okay, so that time you should see what kind of substitution you should do based on the given terms. Okay. So do not worry much about this, okay, because derivation hardly they ask you in the exam. Most of the time it will be problems which you have to work out. So basic ideas should be clear. So I believe now Raoult's law is clear to you. Dalton's law anyways you have learned last year also, okay. So we are just applying the Dalton's law over here. When you have two components, the pressure exerted will be because of both of these components. That is Dalton's law, okay. So Dalton's law is this. And what is the Raoult's law? Raoult's law says that whatever pressure you are getting, okay, when you have mixed them together, when you have mixed two components together, whatever pressure you are getting, that is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that particular component. Okay, so I have taken here first component. So that is Raoult's law, okay. Clear the difference between Raoult's law and the Dalton's law. Yes, now we'll go for see how you can plot the graph for this, how the graph will come out when you plot for the vapor pressure, okay, that is the partial vapor pressure versus the mole fraction. Okay, you can see here, I have taken on the y-axis, you can see here we are taking vapor pressure, okay, vapor pressure is on the y-axis and on the x-axis we are going to take mole fraction, okay, the total mole fraction. So now here initially you should imagine now you have only one component, okay, you know initially we have only the first component which is present. So that I'm going to take over here. Okay, x1. What is the maximum value we can have for mole fraction? 1, no? 1, 2, 0 is the minimum value because we calculate mole fraction out of 1. So I have taken here x1, one component I have assumed here. Okay, x1 is equal to 1 and the minimum value I can have is x1 is equal to 0. Okay, so now here see x1 is equal to 0 means I will not have any first component present here in this case. Okay, it is 0, nil. Nothing is present of the first component. And this side when I am talking about x1 is equal to 1, that means whatever I am having, the vapor pressure, 100% vapor pressure is because of the first component here. Okay, that is the meaning here. x1 is equal to 1. When you get x1 is equal to 1, see you know this relationship x1 plus x2 is equal to 1. Then you will get x1 is equal to 1 when you don't have any second component present. Correct? No, when second component value is 0, only then you will get x1 value is equal to 1. I hope you are able to understand this relationship. X1 is equal to 1 means we have only one component present and 100% of only one component is present there. Okay, vapor pressure will be only because of first component. So that time you don't have any second component present. There is no solution. There is only one liquid which is present. Okay. So on this line, okay, on the y-axis when I am writing, I will have only first component present. Okay. So now in this graph, no, we are going to club together and write even x component, one component and the second component. Okay, so now I am writing only for first one. So I told you here I have 100% of first component and here I don't have any, means the component is decreasing. Okay, across the x-axis when you are going, initially you have 100% and slowly as you are adding the another component, their mole fraction will start decreasing, correct? So now see when you are plotting the graph, initially when you plot, if you have only first component, whatever vapor pressure you are getting, that will be because of this one first component itself. No, so that will come on the y-axis, exactly on the y-axis, because 100% you are having only vapor pressure of that component. Now slowly when you start mixing the second component, okay, what will happen to the vapor pressure of the first one? The vapor pressure of the first one will start decreasing. Agree with me? Students, concentrate properly, okay, and listen what I am trying to say here, because you have to have your full concentration, only then you will be able to understand. Yes, initially I am telling you I have only one component, okay, so whatever pressure I am getting, that will be because of the first component. So when I am plotting here 100%, I will get only the first component vapor pressure. Agree, no, with me? Now when I am adding, slowly when I am adding the second, I am bringing the second component down. Okay, little you added. So that time what will happen? Little pressure will be because of the second one and little will be because of the first one. But first is again still larger in number. So their mole fraction will be larger and second ones will be little less. Slowly if you are going to plot the graph, you will see that the plot will come out like this. It will be decreasing. Correct? No, initially you have only first component. Slowly when you are adding second, okay, second is coming into picture now. So that means the first one's vapor pressure will decrease. Again, little more second one if you are adding, again it will decrease. Correct? No, again little more second one when you are adding, again it will decrease. Okay, so on when you keep on doing, okay, when you keep on adding the second component, you will see that the vapor pressure of the first one will start decreasing. Which one will start increasing? Vapor pressure of the second one. Yeah, it won't completely come to 0 point something. Means imagine majority of the second component has come and very less amount of the first one is present. Then 0 point something. Exactly it will not meet 0. Okay, this is just a ideal condition they have assumed. Like if you completely remove the x1, only then you will get 0. Yes? So understood this one, first one, how you are getting? Slowly it will start decreasing. Okay, I hope you are able to understand. So this is for first component which I have assumed on this side. If you listen no correctly, only then you will be able to understand. If you divert yourself somewhere here and there, then everything will go above your head. Okay, now see the next one, second component. I am plotting on the other side. Okay, so this is the P1 value. P1 depends on the mole fraction, correct? No, this P1 value, slowly it is decreasing. So it depends on how much amount of mole fraction of that first component is present. So initially you can see P1 value will be 100%. So that time, because all the component was only first one. Slowly when you started adding second, you see that the value is decreasing. Okay. Now come to this side. Okay. Second component, I am taking on this side. Okay. We can plot like this itself. Okay. You can take first component and then say initially I have P1 naught value, and then here I have mole fraction. And initially your value will be highest for the one component, and slowly when you are adding the second one, it will start decreasing. Same thing if I talk about the second component and plot in a similar fashion. If I take mole fraction here, and then if I take the total vapor pressure of the second component, initially that will be higher. Slowly when you are adding the first one, what will happen? Again it will start decreasing. But now we are plotting, no, just reverse this. Okay, if I take it in this way, vapor pressure is here, and mole fraction is here. So that's how we are plotting now. Okay, just taking on the other side, because both we have to show in one graph. So I can't keep this P2 exactly on top of this, no? So we are keeping on the other side. That's it. Okay, that is the difference you are seeing here. It's a clubbed graph of first and the second component. Okay, I have just reversed in this fashion. Vapor pressure again on y-axis itself, and the mole fraction is on the x-axis. Second component is here. Okay, so now here, see, you can see this side P2 naught has come. So P2 naught is where you are having 100% of the second component. You can see below I have written x2 is equal to 1. That means I have 100% of only x2 component here. Okay, x2 is equal to 1 means I have x1 0 here. Okay, x1 will become 0. Only x2 component is present. And slowly when you keep adding x1, your x2 value will become 0. Okay, if you keep removing x2 and add only x1, slowly you will see that that value will turn out to be 0. Okay, so now we are going from right to left. That time we went from left to right side. Okay, so initially I will get P2 naught value, which will be higher, because I will have only P2 component. No, initially only imagine that red molecules which were present, only they are exerting the pressure. So I will get vapor pressure only of that component, correct? So then P2 naught value will be 100% there, higher value, highest value. Okay, now slowly when you are adding P1 to this, what will happen? The graph will go downwards. Yeah, it will start going towards this side. Okay, so initially I have the highest value. And slowly when I'm adding P1, okay, little I added, you got to know that the vapor pressure of the second component became less. Okay, because little contribution has come from P1 now. So again you are adding more P1, then still it will decrease. Again you add more P1. Okay, you keep on adding, you will see that the mole fraction of the x2 will start decreasing. Okay, because they are directly related to each other. You increase the mole fraction of another component, their vapors will become more. Which one here? Point of interaction. Which one here? We are not talking anything about this. We are just discussing about this. Okay. P1 naught and P2. Total pressure. For you important is this total pressure. That I will discuss later. You have. Okay. Mixtures are there. Okay. Certain mixtures you have to learn. When I am coming to that mixture part 2, that time I will explain. Okay. Now here, this is for ideal condition. Whatever I have given, no? This is for ideal condition. So P2 naught, this line slope which is going downwards, no, that value will be directly proportional to your P2. This will be directly proportional to your P2. Okay, depending on your P2 value, you will get this slope. Okay, because they are directly proportional to mole fraction. And then when you add this P1 and P2 together, then you will get the total pressure. Okay, like if you take P1 value here, this P1 value and this P2 value, sum them together. Okay, then if you sum it together and then plot that values in the graph, you will get the graph going in this straight line fashion. Okay, which is the total pressure. P total is equal to P1 plus P2. Okay, again all of these graphs are like a straight line graph because it is obeying this equation, y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, because here you can go back and see that equation which you have written. Okay, it was like that, no? P total is equal to, this is the equation which you have written for P total. P total is equal to P1 naught plus x2, P2 naught minus P1 naught. This was the equation where this P total is the y, and then this is your M, X, and this is your C. Okay, this is like your straight line equation. So when you plot the P total also, you are getting straight line equation. Okay, all of these are straight line because you are getting the equation in that form. Okay, so you can draw this one. This could be asked in your exam. Yes, now one point here, you can see one point to note down. If you have seen properly, it's not like the P1 not and P2 not. Okay, both of them are not in the straight line, correct? No, it is little slanted. You can see that. That's because we are considering one of the component being more volatile than compared to the second one. Okay, so we have assumed this. And you know, any two liquid cannot have same vapor pressure. That's not possible at a same temperature. Okay, then it will be like both of them are having same interaction. They can have almost similar, but it cannot be exactly same. No, it's like you can't expect two identical twins also to behave in a similar fashion. That's not possible. Each one has their own uniqueness. Okay, so even here when you have two liquids, okay, they can behave ideally little like towards the ideal behavior they can show, but complete ideal behavior is not shown by any liquid. 100% is not possible. Okay, so you can see here little variation is there because whenever you have two component, one will be having more vapor pressure than compared to the another one. Okay, one will be more volatile, so they will be exerting more vapor pressure. So that's the reason why you can see here P2 naught value is little higher than compared to P1 naught. Okay, so that's just for you to make a note. Now we are going for the next one, vapor pressure of solid in liquid. Okay, this is our second topic. You have learned about liquids in liquids. Now it is solid when you are adding into a liquid. But what kind of solid you are going to take here? Okay, the solute what you are going to take, that is a solid. Okay, and mixed with the solvent to form a solution. So solute what we are taking is a non-volatile solute. Okay, and the solvent you are going to take is volatile. So non-volatile, example I have given here, sugar, urea and NaCl. Okay, non-volatile means the substance which will not evaporate. They will stay there only. Okay, they will not contribute anything to the vapor pressure. Okay, so their vapor pressure value is going to be 0. They will never come out in the form of vapors, remember. Okay, so they are not going to form any vapors. Such type of compounds are called as non-volatile. Okay, and I said solvent we are going to take as volatile to form this solution. So that time whatever happens to the vapor pressure, that is what we are going to discuss here. Okay, so non-volatile definition I have given here down. The substance which does not evaporate. Okay, they are called as non-volatile. This is our second point of discussion. Okay, you can just write down this heading. Then tomorrow I will proceed from here itself.